Every single day, travelers get pulled aside at airport security for items they were convinced were allowed. No warning, no explanation, just a bag search, delays, and sometimes confiscation. What most people don't realize is that TSA doesn't just stop bags for banned items. They stop bags for confusing items, poorly packed items, and things that simply look wrong on the scanner. In this video, I'm breaking down 12 carry-on items that cause the most problems at U.S. airport security. Not myths, not outdated advice, but the items TSA officers actually stop bags for every day. Some of these items are technically allowed. Some are allowed only under very specific conditions, and a few of them cause problems even when you follow the rules perfectly. Make sure you watch till the end, because item number 1 explains why bags get searched even when nothing illegal is inside. And once you understand that, airport security makes a lot more sense. 12. Oversized liquid toiletries. Oversized liquid toiletries remain the #1 reason carry-on bags get stopped at U.S. airport security. The most common misunderstanding is that TSA measures the container size, not how much liquid is inside. A half-empty shampoo bottle over 3.4 ounces is still prohibited. Travelers often assume almost empty means allowed, which leads to bag searches and confiscation. Items like shampoo, lotion, mouthwash, liquid soap, contact lens solution, and cosmetic liquids are frequent triggers. One oversized bottle is enough to require a full bag inspection. During busy travel periods, this significantly increases screening time and stress. TSA officers must enforce the rule consistently, regardless of intent or experience level. Another overlooked issue is poor packing. Liquids buried deep inside cluttered bags are harder to isolate, which increases the chance of manual inspection. TSA recommends placing liquids in a clear, quart-sized bag so officers can quickly verify compliance. When liquids are difficult to access, officers must remove items to inspect manually. This slows screening and increases secondary checks. Keep this in mind because several upcoming items cause problems for the exact same visibility reasons. 11. Liquid foods travelers misjudge. Many travelers do not realize that TSA classifies certain foods as liquids. Items that are spreadable, scoopable, or pourable are treated the same as shampoo or lotion under the liquids rule. Peanut butter, hummus, yogurt, cream cheese, dips, and sauces are some of the most common offenders. These items frequently cause confusion because they appear solid to passengers, but look dense and irregular on X-ray scanners. TSA explicitly states that spreadable foods must comply with a 3.4-ounce liquid limit. When these items exceed the limit, officers are required to stop the bag and inspect it. Travelers are often surprised because they assume food is exempt from liquid rules. Another issue is packaging. Food containers rarely list volume clearly, making it easy to exceed limits unknowingly. These items also tend to be packed near electronics or other dense objects, which further complicates screening. 10. Protein powder and dense powders. Protein powder and other dense powders are a major cause of carry-on bag searches at U.S. airports. TSA allows powders in carry-on bags, but quantities over 12 ounces require additional screening. Powders appear as dense, uniform masses on X-ray scanners, which can obscure other items and prevent officers from seeing clearly inside the bag. When this happens, officers must perform manual inspection. Protein supplements, meal replacement powders, and powdered drink mixes are frequent triggers. Travelers are often unaware of the 12-ounce threshold and assume powders are treated like solid foods. Another issue is container labeling. Unmarked or homemade containers raise additional concerns and increase inspection time. Even when permitted, large quantities of powder slow screening and increase the likelihood of secondary checks. TSA may ask travelers to remove powders from their bag for separate screening. Packing powders near electronics or liquids increases suspicion further. This matters because powders are increasingly common in carry-ons, especially among fitness and business travelers. Keep watching because the next item involves batteries, and those rules are even stricter. 9. Power banks and lithium batteries. Power banks and spare lithium batteries cause frequent problems at U.S. airport security, not because they are banned, but because the rules around them are strict and often misunderstood. TSA allows lithium batteries and power banks in carry-on bags only, never in checked luggage. The issue arises when travelers pack multiple batteries loosely or carry high-capacity power banks without realizing airline limits may apply. On X-ray scanners, lithium batteries appear dense and uniform, which can trigger additional inspection. Loose batteries are a particular concern because exposed terminals increase the risk of short circuits. TSA officers may stop a bag if batteries are not protected or properly stored. Another common problem happens at the gate. If a carry-on is gate-checked, passengers must remove all spare lithium batteries before the bag goes into the cargo hold. Travelers often forget this, causing last-minute delays. High-capacity power banks may also violate airline-specific policies even if TSA allows them through security. This creates confusion when a device clears screening but is later rejected. As battery-powered devices become more common, enforcement has become stricter. Remember this point because the next item also involves lithium batteries, but with an added fire risk concern. 8. Vapes and e-cigarettes. Vapes and e-cigarettes are another carry-on item that frequently causes confusion at airport security. TSA allows electronic cigarettes and vaping devices in carry-on bags only, never in checked luggage. This rule exists because lithium batteries inside these devices pose a fire risk in the cargo hold. Problems occur when travelers forget they packed a vape deep inside their bag or assume it can be checked. On X-ray scanners, vape devices often resemble other electronics, prompting officers to inspect the bag more closely. Another major issue is accidental activation. TSA and airlines require that vaping devices be protected from turning on during transport. Devices without safety locks or covers may trigger additional screening. Travelers also run into issues with vape accessories. Spare batteries, liquid pods, and refill containers must follow the same liquid and battery rules discussed earlier. Large refill bottles frequently exceed liquid limits. Even when compliant, cluttered packing increases inspection time. TSA officers must verify device safety before clearing the bag. As vaping devices evolve, enforcement has tightened. Keep this in mind because the next item looks harmless but causes similar screening delays for a different reason. If this is helpful, subscribe to FlySmart so you don't get caught by airport rules like these. Now let's continue. 7. Aerosol toiletries. Aerosol toiletries regularly cause carry-on bag searches, even when travelers believe they are packed correctly. Spray deodorant, hairspray, sunscreen, and shaving cream are all considered aerosols and must comply with TSA liquid rules. Each container must be 3.4 ounces or smaller to be allowed in carry-on luggage. Many travelers overlook the size of aerosol cans, assuming they are exempt because they are pressurized. On X-ray scanners, aerosol canisters appear dense and metallic, immediately drawing attention. Officers must stop the bag to measure or identify the item. Even borderline lengths usually result in inspection. Travelers are often surprised because the item feels harmless in daily life. Another issue is bundled tools. Compact kits can appear smaller on the surface but exceed limits when unfolded. TSA officers are required to evaluate the tool in its usable form, not how it is packed. This creates delays and sometimes confiscation if checking a bag is not an option. Remember this, because the next item causes similar problems even when the blade is tiny. 6. Tools over 7 inches. Tools longer than 7 inches are one of the most common forgotten items that cause carry-on bags to be stopped at U.S. airport security. Screwdrivers, wrenches, pliers, and small toolkits often live permanently inside backpacks or laptop bags, which makes them easy to overlook. TSA rules are clear that tools over 7 inches are prohibited in carry-on luggage and must be placed in checked bags. The problem is that many travelers assume small or lightweight tools are acceptable. On X-ray scanners, tools appear dense and metallic, immediately drawing attention. Officers must stop the bag to measure or identify the item. Even borderline lengths usually result in inspection. Travelers are often surprised because the item feels harmless in daily life. Another issue is bundled tools. Compact kits can appear smaller on the surface but exceed limits when unfolded. TSA officers are required to evaluate the tool in its usable form, not how it is packed. This creates delays and sometimes confiscation if checking a bag is not an option. Remember this, because the next item causes similar problems even when the blade is tiny. 5. Multi-tools and small blades. Multi-tools and small blades are a major source of carry-on bag searches because travelers underestimate how strictly TSA treats sharp objects. Many multi-tools include tiny knife blades that passengers forget exist. Even the smallest blade is prohibited in carry-on bags. TSA officers cannot ignore blade length simply because it is short. On X-ray scanners, blades appear as sharp, high-contrast shapes, making them easy to detect. Once identified, officers must inspect the bag and remove the item. Travelers often argue that the blade is too small to matter, but discretion is not allowed. Another issue is novelty or keychain tools. Items marketed as travel-friendly frequently still contain blades. These products cause confusion and frustration at checkpoints. TSA applies the same rule to all sharp objects, regardless of intent or size. Confiscation is common when passengers do not have checked baggage. This leads to delays and lost property. The lesson is simple but overlooked. If an item can cut or pierce, it does not belong in a carry-on. Keep watching because the next item surprises travelers for a very different reason. 4. Pepper spray and self-defense items. Pepper spray and other self-defense items cause frequent problems at airport security because travelers carry them for personal safety without realizing they are prohibited in carry-on bags. TSA does not allow pepper spray in carry-on luggage under any circumstances. The only limited allowance applies to checked baggage and only under specific size and safety conditions. Many passengers are unaware of this distinction. On X-ray scanners, pepper spray canisters resemble aerosols or compressed devices, triggering immediate inspection. Once identified, officers must remove the item. Travelers are often shocked because they view pepper spray as a safety tool rather than a weapon. TSA rules classify it as a prohibited item due to chemical irritant risks. The problem worsens when spray containers exceed size limits or lack safety mechanisms. Confiscation is almost guaranteed if discovered in carry-on bags. This creates delays and emotional reactions at checkpoints. Travelers should remember that intent does not matter at security. Rules are enforced based on risk classification, not personal reasoning. Keep this in mind because the final items explain why even harmless souvenirs and legal electronics can still get your bag searched. 3. Snow globes and souvenir liquids. Snow globes and souvenir liquids regularly cause problems at airport security because travelers do not realize they are treated as liquids under TSA rules. A snow globe is essentially a sealed container of liquid, regardless of how decorative or solid it looks. TSA applies the same 3.4-ounce liquid limit to snow globes as shampoo or lotion. Larger snow globes must be placed in checked baggage. Travelers are often surprised because these items are sold openly inside airports and tourist areas. On X-ray scanners, snow globes appear as dense liquid spheres, immediately triggering inspection. Officers must stop the bag to determine liquid volume. Even sealed packaging does not exempt the item. The same issue applies to liquid souvenirs like specialty oils, syrups, alcohol mini bottles, and sauces purchased outside secure areas. Travelers often assume souvenirs are automatically allowed, which leads to confiscation. This causes frustration, especially when items are gifts. The lesson is simple but overlooked. If a souvenir contains liquid, it follows liquid rules. Keep this in mind because the next item involves electronics that cause even more confusion. 2. Oversized portable power stations. Large portable power stations and high-capacity power banks cause frequent problems at airport security because they fall into a gray area between TSA rules and airline policies. TSA screening focuses on safety threats, while airlines enforce battery size limits for fire prevention. Many travelers assume that if an item passes TSA, it is allowed on the aircraft. That assumption is often wrong. Large lithium battery power stations may be restricted or prohibited by individual airlines based on watt-hour ratings. These devices appear extremely dense on X-ray scanners, prompting additional inspection. TSA officers may clear the item, but airline staff can still deny it at the gate. This creates confusion and delays. Travelers are rarely informed of airline battery limits before arriving at the airport. Another issue is unclear labeling. Power stations without visible watt-hour information are more likely to be flagged. Airlines require clear markings to verify compliance. The safest approach is checking airline policies before travel. Remember this point because the final item explains the hidden reason bags get searched even when every rule is followed. Dense and cluttered bag packing. The biggest reason carry-on bags get searched has nothing to do with illegal items. Dense and cluttered packing is the #1 cause of manual inspections at airport security. When multiple dense objects overlap on an X-ray scanner, officers cannot clearly identify individual items. Stacked books, tightly packed food, candles, layered electronics, and bundled cables create solid blocks on the screen. When officers cannot see clearly, they must open the bag. This happens even when everything inside is allowed. Travelers often think bag searches are random, but they are usually caused by visibility issues. TSA officers are trained to prioritize clear imaging over convenience. Poor packing forces extra screening. This is why two passengers with the same items can have very different experiences. One bag is organized, the other cluttered. Understanding this changes how you pack. Separating electronics, liquids, and dense items reduces inspections dramatically. This final secret explains why doing nothing wrong still leads to delays. Once you understand this, airport security becomes predictable instead of frustrating. Now you know why security really stops bags, even when nothing is illegal. Watch the next Fly Smart video on your screen so your next trip goes smoother.